This is a really fascinating topic because life just gets cheaper when you're living on a Bitcoin standard. I think, what was it, only 4 to 5 years ago, Bitcoin was $10,000 a coin in 2020. The average home in Australia, probably 500,000, per house. So you needed something like 50 Bitcoin to buy the average home in Australia. Today, it's very different. Today, you might need 2 Bitcoin, 3 Bitcoin, 4 Bitcoin to buy the average home in Australia. So it just shows just how quickly that's changing, and that trend's only going to accelerate. This is an exponential process. The 2020, 2021 bull market wasn't even a real bull market. It was a pump for ants. Bitcoin rallied to $65,000. It's peanuts. I genuinely believe we're going much higher this bull run. If you actually ignore the 2021 cycle, and if you have a look at what Bitcoin did in 2013 and 2017, Bitcoin did an average multiple of like 65x. So if you run the numbers and you go from a 65x from the bottom of $16,000 a coin in 2022, Bitcoin, if it simply repeats what it did in 2013 and 2017, the maths is very clear. We're hitting $1 million per coin in 2025. That's just the maths. Just ignore what the 2021 cycle was. So I think the whole idea of diminishing returns is a meme, and I think life's going to get exponentially cheaper on a Bitcoin standard if you can weather the volatility of the next 2, 3, 4 years. And the way I think about it personally is I'm just going to continue to store more than 95 to 99% of my wealth in Bitcoin for the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, because I just don't think Bitcoin's going to be priced appropriately where it should be for at least another 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Like we said earlier, 1% of the world's bought this thing. The 10-year digital gold rush that Michael Saylor is talking about just started in 2024. I personally think it actually started in 2020 with the trend of coins leaving the exchanges. But the point is fair. Michael Saylor, a billionaire with a $9 billion net worth, the CEO of the company with the 7th largest treasury out of 58,000 public companies, who's met with President Trump multiple times, is directly telling you, you have 10 years left. That's his 10-year digital gold rush thesis. He says it started in 2024 with the launch of the Bitcoin ETFs. He says in 10 years, 99% of the Bitcoin that'll ever be created will be mined. He's telling you, supply suffocation is coming. You've got 10 years. I think it started in 2020. I think you've got 5 years left. So again, I think things are going to get really wonky. Things are going to get really interesting when this supply suffocation really starts to play out. And I'm not going to consider selling my Bitcoin for things for a very long time. I will happily rent apartments like I'm doing right now. I'm renting apartments in Lima here in Peru. And I'm going to continue doing that for the foreseeable future. I won't be buying a home for a long time because I just know that 5 years ago cost me 50 Bitcoin to buy a home in Australia. Today it cost me 5 Bitcoin to buy a home in Australia. Just by waiting for 5 years, homes just got 90% cheaper priced in Bitcoin. Same thing's going to happen over the next 5 years, if not to an even bigger degree. Maybe they get 95% cheaper priced in Bitcoin. So why spend your Bitcoin when it's getting so valuable?
Okay, so transitioning to another topic you have kind of surrounding the global economy and how we price things, how the metrics we use. I know you have a little bit of a spicy take here on GDP and how we're going to calculate things on a Bitcoin standard, and how there's the saying of Bitcoin breaks all your models. So I would love for you to touch on GDP and some of these things that are going to change on a Bitcoin standard.
Yeah, so a lot of people expect Bitcoin to fix the Eurodollar market or increase global GDP from 2% to 3% or 2% to 5%, like it has been growing at over the past 10, 20, 30 years. I think it's completely flawed. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. Bitcoin is a very binary bet. It's all or nothing. It either goes to zero or it fails, or it becomes global money of the world, and it fundamentally transforms how the global economy works. And if we do, hypothetically, transition to a Bitcoin standard, this is going to fundamentally mean smaller governments. Again, what is a smaller government? That means that they can't print money to enforce all of their stupid bureaucracies and rules and regulations that they use to squeeze capital out of the business owner. That means there's going to be less rules, less regulations, And it's going to mean more capitalism, more business owners, more wealthy individuals creating a business because they actually have an incentive to. For example, in Australia, if I wanted to start a business, I don't want to start a business in Australia because I have to give the government 50% of my money to go and fund all of these ludicrous ideas. It's bad enough that I have to give the government 50% of my money. What's even worse is when they take that money and they use that to imprison me. I pay the government 50% of the money I make a year, and I have police officers chasing me on the beach in 2020, trying to pin me down and put 5 masks on my face. This is where my tax money goes. And again, it goes all sorts of other stupid, wonky places as well. All the woke mind virus that swept the world over the past 2 to 3 years, a little bit less to a lesser degree more recently. But there's no incentive for the business entrepreneur to start a business unless you're on a Bitcoin standard. And this is where I think a Bitcoin standard not only creates a more fertile environment for business owners to create a business, but it also unlocks the 2 billion people in the world who don't have a bank account. There's around 2 billion people who don't have a bank account. How many Albert Einsteins are there in Africa or South America or Asia or Central America who have incredible business ideas that can create an incredible amount of wealth for the global economy, but they simply can't get their business idea to the people, to the masses, to the retail, because they don't have an effective way to raise capital. They don't have a bank account. They can't get funding. And even if they did get funding, the government would probably take their money off them and steal their idea. So this is another thing that Bitcoin changes. All of a sudden, every single person in the world has a bank account. It's a Bitcoin bank account. You got a $50 smartphone, you can grab one of these puppies, you can download a Bitcoin wallet, and you've got access to global capital markets. If you got a $50 smartphone and you're in Africa, South America, Asia, all of a sudden you have a bank account. You have the same bank account that Michael Saylor has. You're abiding by the same rules. And I think these are just some things that people don't think about when we're thinking about a transition to a Bitcoin standard. How many Albert Einsteins are there in the 2 billion people who are unbanked? When all of those ideas get unlocked and brought to the global marketplace, the GDP growth and boom that we see in the world is going to be unprecedented. And I don't see why global GDP couldn't be growing by 10, 20, 30, 40% per year for a lot of years. And again, I think we could even get more philosophical and spiritual and start asking the questions like on a Bitcoin standard, if there's less war, I'm not sure if Bitcoin would completely eradicate war, but I think it would certainly create a lot less war when we are more globally cooperated as we are using the same money. Does this mean you just simply get people in higher powers focusing on problems that actually matter and creating wealth?
If you like that clip, then you definitely got to check out this next spicy clip. I think you're really going to like it. Come on, check it out. But if you want the full version, the full interview, then check that out over here. Come on, do it. I'll see you in there.